Welcome back to the channel, and I'm totally ready to get hate on this video. I bet no matter what I say, no matter how much you agree with me, at least one opinion in this video is going to have you banging down the door. So let's just get to it. Today we're going to be rating the Disney animated musical soundtracks. Now we're not rating individual songs. We're rating the entire soundtrack for a movie. So if it's got like some real good ones in it, hey, that's great. But if there's a couple songs that bring it down, you know, it's gonna hurt its overall rating. A couple things to remember. Number one, we're looking for musicals. So if it's just a movie that has songs in it, it's not gonna make the list. Which means we're gonna need to throw out a couple honorable mentions. First, 101 Dalmatians. There's 3 songs in this movie, but they're not really musical songs. They're just Roger sitting down and playing songs on the piano. So not a musical. People aren't breaking into song, knowing what other people are saying, expressing emotions through lyrics or anything. So not a musical. Sorry, 101 Dalmatians. Same thing's going to go for my personal favorite Disney movie, The Great Mouse Detective. 2 great songs, and even though it's my favorite, it doesn't meet the criteria. So when you are upset at me and letting me know in the comments, hey, my favorite's not on the list, guess what? My favorite's not on the list either. And that's also going to include this other honorable mention, Tarzan. Not a musical. Great soundtrack, but it doesn't quite fit what we're talking about today. So just know I love those ones, but they're not on the list. A couple other ones that aren't on the list are Mary Poppins and Enchanted, because they are not completely animated. So we're not going to be talking about them either. And because we're talking about Disney movies, we're going to stay away from Pixar, which means Coco is not going to make the list either. Again, I am sorry. I like all of these movies too. I just couldn't have the list be too crazy long. And then the last criteria that we have is that the movie needs to have been released in theaters. That lets us avoid a lot of those direct-to-DVD or direct-to-VHS sequels that came out. And so with all that in place, I think we can finally get started with the list. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see any more of our Disney tier lists that we've done or other things that we've ranked. Don't forget to check the card up above, and we will get right into it right now. Thanks again. In the past, when I've done a tier list, I can tend to put a lot of things up high. And so to make this tier list a little harder for myself and a little more even, we're going to not put more than 6 movies in any one of the categories. We have the 27 that we're ranking, and so we'll have a little bit of wiggle room here. But yeah, we want to make sure and try to keep it maybe a little challenging, break a couple hearts. So anyway, let's get to it. So Snow White and the 7 Dwarves has some pretty good songs in it. It's got Hi Ho, right? It's got the song that they sing when they're washing their hands and everything. It's got Whistle While You Work. It's pretty good. Some classics, but nothing that really comes up a ton when I'm just thinking about Disney songs that I want to listen to. It's definitely not a lower tier, and I'm going to be comfortable starting us off with Snow White being in B tier. Now, it's not going to maybe land there by the end of this, but for now, I'm happy with it being there. Now, Pinocchio might have probably the most famous out of all of the Disney songs, like When You Wish Upon a Star, and maybe that has trailed off a little bit over the years, but definitely when I was growing up as a kid, it was on like every single one of the Disney sing-along tapes that they did. But Pinocchio also has a couple other fun songs too, like No String, like I've Got No Strings, which was sampled in the Age of Ultron trailers, which again was a while ago at this point.
There are no strings on me.
But that was fun to, hear those kind of dark versions of those songs, which, is going to happen again on this list at least once. Actually, more than once. I know that for sure. With Hi Diddle Dee also coming in this movie, it's not a bad one for me. It isn't like a one and done. I don't like any other songs in the movie, but it's definitely not as good as Snow White. So I'm going to be putting it in the C tier for now. It would be even lower if it wasn't for When You Wish Upon a Star, but it's not enough to bring it up higher than where it is right now. Now, Dumbo is where I'm going to have to kind of start talking about the fact that some of these songs haven't aged very well, right? I love When I See an Elephant Fly, but you cannot argue the fact that, there's not some, maybe insensitivity is a way to put it, that comes along with that. I think it's a great song still, and definitely not the most offensive song that we'll talk about today. But that song, and then also Baby Mine, and not to forget Pink Elephants on Parade, really put Dumbo I think higher than Snow White. I don't know if I would go all the way up into A tier, so right now we're going to leave it in B, but every time I watch this movie, I'll be listening to songs from it for at least a couple of days afterwards. Now, Cinderella is where I might start getting into some trouble, because again, it's got an iconic song with Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. But outside of that, I don't personally find any of the songs that catchy. Like, if I'm going to sit down and I'm going to listen to the soundtrack of this movie, how much of it am I excited to hear? Like, that is what we're talking about here. Not like one song. Like, I can like one song from any of these movies, but the whole soundtrack, we got to take the whole thing into account. And Cinderella doesn't have a lot for me when it comes to it. A whole album to listen to. A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes is, you know, a good song. And it's nice when it comes up in like a Disney medley or anything, but it's not really one that personally I'm going to be going and looking for. I do know that there are people who do really like that. And so please let me know in the comments below how upset you are that I'm putting Cinderella in D tier. I am not questioning that. I'm completely comfortable with it being there, but you know, D tier is maybe a little low for some people. But going even lower than that, I'm going to be putting Alice in Wonderland in F tier. There's a couple songs in this one, like the I'm Late song, but again, the version of that I remember the most is from a sing-along video where they're at Disneyland, so it's not even the version of it that's in the movie.
You're late! You're late for a very important date! It's time to open up the gate! You're late! You're late! You're late!
And the Unbirthday song, again, a fun song, but not one that I'm going to choose to sit down and listen to. Plus, there's a bunch of other songs in this movie about characters like, you know, talking about themselves or introducing themselves that really, for me, I don't even really remember them. Like, I had to go in to like look and make sure this one was even a musical. I could barely remember off the top of my head. Painting the Roses Red is like the only one of the songs in the movie that can get stuck in my head and I might listen to. But outside of that, there's nothing here for me. Now, I don't plan these out before we go into this. We are finding out where I'm going to put these as we go along. Sometimes it's a bit of a surprise. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of thinking. And we're going to have to do a little bit of thinking with this one, with Peter Pan. Again, man, there are quite a few of these early ones that just have iconic Disney songs. Like You Can Fly is, you know, they play it like during every fireworks show at Disneyland that I've ever seen. Following the Leader is, you know, a catchy one. Again, familiar with it, especially from the sing-along videos. And Never Smile at a Crocodile is a lot of fun as well. But you cannot deny that if you're going to sit down and listen to every song that is in Peter Pan, you have to listen to What Made the Red Man Red, which, again, problematic. And also not a good song on top of that. When I'm putting on a Disney soundtrack to listen to with my kids, I prefer not to have to explain, you know, this to them. And so it does knock it down for me on where I would want to put Peter Pan as a whole. I don't think it's like as bad as Alice in Wonderland, and it's definitely more memorable than the songs in Cinderella. But does it go as high as Pinocchio? I don't think You Can Fly is nearly as iconic as When You Wish Upon a Star. So I think it's not. I think we're going to, because we're going to be having to make some tough calls later, let's kind of keep some of these ones that we're unsure about a little bit lower on the list. So I'm going to be putting Peter Pan in the D tier for right now. Right along there with it, the Siamese cat song in Lady and the Tramp is also one that it just doesn't feel right. You know, even from listening to it, it doesn't feel right me singing it. It's gonna hurt my rating. But Bella Notte and He's a Tramp are the only two songs in this one that I particularly like. And so I'm gonna put Lady and the Tramp. It's gonna be in D tier, but it's not gonna be as low as Cinderella. Again, I'm sorry, Cinderella people. Alice in Wonderland is going to get joined by like a classic Disney movie that I actually really enjoy, and that's Sleeping Beauty, mostly because I don't really like any of the songs in it. Again, I had to go and actually check to make sure there were enough songs to even fit my criteria. I wanted to have at least 3 songs in each one of these movies if I was going to call it a musical. And there are 3 in it, but the only song that I could even vaguely remember how it went was Once Upon a Dream, which again is one that you hear like a dark version of it in a movie trailer when Maleficent came out. But like I said, this one doesn't rank very high for me. In fact, it ranks at the bottom. But now we finally get to one where I'm going to put it up really high, and I'm going to put it A tier on The Jungle Book. Bare Necessities, number one, great hit, right? I Want to Be Like You, fantastic, wonderful. That's What Friends Are For, the song the vultures sing. It's like great and sets a tone. And then of course, this movie has the greatest Disney villain song out of any Disney villain song, My Own Home.
Till I'm grown, till I'm grown.
You put on the Jungle Book soundtrack and you're going to have a good time. But I'm going to feel real good about putting Jungle Book as my first A tier on the list. Now the Aristocats itself is a hard one for me. I think I'm going to put it in C tier. I'm going to go higher than Pinocchio because I do like Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. But again, you cannot deny the part with the chopsticks and how it's not, again, a part I don't personally want to sing. But Scales and Arpeggio is, a fun little character song for the cats at the beginning. And it's cute, which is, what this movie has a lot of. So if I put it any lower, also my wife might disown me. So we will be happy with Aristocats at a C tier. Thomas O'Malley Cat also. He's great. Good song too. Now I'm going to rate Robin Hood pretty high too. I think I'm going to put it in B tier. Because it has got a mood, man. It is not like the most upbeat out of all these soundtracks, but man, all of these songs really go together. You got the whistling at the beginning. You got Oodalali, What a Day. You've got Not in Nottingham. They're just all pretty like low and slow. They're all kind of, even the happy ones, a little bit, gloomy. And, when it's raining outside, this is like a perfect Disney movie to put on when it's raining outside and it's cold. And the soundtrack goes along with that as well, perfectly. Plus the song Love is, emotional and sweet in all of the right ways too. So I'm going to be happy with that in B tier. Oliver and Company is a tough one for me because I really love the song Why Should I Worry. In fact, we listen to it on Alexa at least once a week. And usually if I listen to it one day, then I'll probably listen to it in the shower the next day because Billy Joel just brings it with that song. But the rest of the songs in the movie aren't, again, something that I choose to listen to. The Bette Midler song Perfect Isn't Easy. I can't even really hum it. It doesn't come to mind. And Though Good Company is, again, a sweet little piano song that has to do with a cat, which is weird that that and Aristocats are so close together, and that's something that happens. Just doesn't really do it for me. I'm not gonna pick it. I'm not gonna be like, Alexa, play Good Company from Oliver and Company. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. I didn't think she was actually listening. Anyway, so Oliver and Company, I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to move Snow White down. I'm going to want some more room here because we're getting into, with this next one, the first Disney movie that came out when I was alive, The Little Mermaid. Now, I know some of you aren't going to believe that I am only 32 years old. In fact, some of you have shared that in the comments before. I hate to break it to you. You can look this old and only be 32 and not use hard drugs or be a heavy drinker. Sometimes you can just look like this. Worry. That's my secret. I worry about things. So anyway, but we're up to The Little Mermaid. And The Little Mermaid is easily A tier for me. Under the Sea, great. Maybe top 5 Disney songs ever. Kiss the Girl, also great. Part of Your World, iconic even, right? And then you got Poor Unfortunate Souls, your first real villain song, where like the villain just gets a chance to go and just have a scene where it's all about them and be the most fun character in any of these movies, which is a tradition that kind of carries on. And it's a good tradition because those villain songs most of the time are some of the best songs in the movie. I stopped myself from putting Little Mermaid in S tier right now because I would hate to knock it down to A tier. It'd be a lot nicer if we could bring it up into S tier later, and it might end up there, but right now I am going to be feeling good about it being in A tier. Beauty and the Beast is going to be my first S tier on here. Gaston, again, villain songs, it's my favorite. It's my favorite song in the movie. The mob song, also a ton of fun. I listened to it 3 times today while I was having dinner. I'm sure my wife was tired of it after the first time, but I listened to it 3 times. Then you get the introductory song with Belle, and of course you've got Be Our Guest. The only thing for me, like movie-wise, has always been weird is how much you just go right from something there that wasn't there before right into Beauty and the Beast. It almost feels like they're one song to me when I'm watching the movie, but on the soundtrack, I don't know, it's not a problem. That's just how songs work in albums when you listen to them. So Beauty and the Beast easily for me is going to be my first S tier. Aladdin is going to be another A tier for me. It's not quite as good as Beauty and the Beast, but I do like it more than Little Mermaid, mostly because of the songs that you get from Robin Williams as the genie, Friend Like Me, and Prince Ali. And then even the version of Prince Ali at the end of the movie when it's Jafar singing. Jafar doesn't get enough to do singing-wise in this movie, so it's fun when he does that, and it's like a twisted version of like the hero's triumphant song. One Jump Ahead is also like a great introductory song for Aladdin's character. And then A Whole New World, got another good love ballad here, just like Beauty and the Beast. And this one kind of, continuing the tradition of like doing the pop star version of it. And it's not nearly as good as the version that's actually in the movie. But A Whole New World is maybe my favorite, like, of the romantic Disney songs. I don't know, guys. I forgot to mention how much Angela Lansbury singing Beauty and the Beast, like, by herself, and they like kind of tricked her into doing it. How that's one of my favorite stories. Just real quick, Angela Lansbury wasn't really even wanting to sing that song in the movie, in Beauty and the Beast, Mrs. Potts, but they were like, hey, just sing one, and she sang it, and they were like, we're just going to use that. We're not going to have anybody else sing it, and she didn't really know that that's how it was going to go down. And I'm glad it did. It makes that version of the song so sweet. Like, she's just such a genuine person and great at solving murder mysteries. Not Mrs. Potts, Angela Lansbury. So now we've got The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is animated. It's stop motion animation completely. It meets all my criteria. This one is, it's got great songs on it. What's This was one of the first songs that I ever illegally downloaded. Sorry to have you hear about that this way, Mom. This is Halloween, Jack's Lament, Kidnap Santa Claus, the Oogie Boogie song. It's like it's our Halloween soundtrack at my house. We don't listen to it a ton the rest of the year, so that makes me wonder how high it should get rated. So I really do love it. I don't think I'm going to go all the way up to A, just because, again, it's not something I listen to all the time. But the high end of B, I'm very comfortable with it being there. I'm also going to be putting Lion King in B tier, which I did not plan on doing and kind of feels a little wrong. Like, it feels sacrilegious to do that, but at the same time, it feels like I'm doing the right thing. It's like, no, you people were wrong. This is where it belongs. It's a great soundtrack. It's got I Just Can't Wait to Be King. It's got Hakuna Matata. It's got Be Prepared. I really do like all of those songs, but do I like it as much as these other ones? Yes, I do. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Put that there. Jungle Book, I'm sorry, you're moving down to B tier. Lion King's gonna move up to A. Guys, I tried. I tried to buck tradition, but I couldn't do it. All right, I'm not strong enough. If you're strong enough, let me know if Lion King is not in like your top 2. I want to know. Now one that is definitely like nostalgia and when I grew up and hearing these songs a million times for me is a Goofy movie. And a Goofy movie is going to be an S tier for me. It almost doesn't meet my criteria, because think about this. It's got songs in it, right, that people are singing. You've got Eye to Eye, you got Stand Out, right? In the movie, Powerline is a popular recording artist. So these songs are being sung, but not as like a musical, right? It's not people being so overcome with emotions they have nothing else to do but sing what they're feeling, right? Because that's really what makes a musical a musical. So those songs shouldn't count, but we barely squeak by with there being the After Today song, Nobody Else But You, and On the Open Road, which are all clearly musical songs and lets us put this on the list. And all of those songs I just love. I will, like, there's not a single song in this soundtrack that I will skip. Not even the Possum song. Lester's Possum Park is good, right? We respect it and we let it keep its place. Pocahontas, on the other hand, it's not a soundtrack that I really like. Just even in general, I don't really like Pocahontas that much. Just Around the River Bend is, of course, it's a memorable, like, iconic Disney song, and Colors of the Wind probably even more so. But the only song from this movie that ever comes into my head, like, randomly, is Savages. And so for me, I just am not wanting to put it any higher, and so I'm not going to. I will put the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh, gosh. I want to go here, but I'm afraid of what I might... Yeah, we'll go here. Hunchback of Notre Dame will go into B tier for me. Out There is like a great, again, character introduction song for Quasimodo. The villain song in this one, Hellfire, is just like maybe one of like the craziest, darkest songs that Disney has ever put in one of its movies. This kind of just goes for the movie as a whole. Topsy Turvy, again, a really cool song that introduces like the world and everything about what's going on. But it does have A Guy Like You, which hurts it quite a bit. I am not a fan of the gargoyles in this movie, and so for me, their song is a bit of a breakdown. But I do really like those other songs on the movie, including the other ones that I didn't list. Hercules is going to be another S tier for me. I just love the whole feel of it, right? Like all the songs are in like the choir, gospel choir kind of feel. Zero to Hero, again, is on just like my normal playlist that I do with the kids, and when it comes on, it's one that everyone sings, and most likely we will probably sing it again without even much of a break between it. I Won't Say I'm in Love is one of my favorite like romance songs in it. Plus the fact that there's a song that Danny DeVito sings in the movie is great. And A Star Is Born is like a great wrap up. Like, it's a real shame that a lot of the current Disney movies really just kind of forget about being musicals about halfway through. But these ones still, you're still getting songs at the end of the movie and everything. And so A Star Is Born, great one to go out on. Feels good. I know it's not in the song, but when the guys say that's Phil's boy, it gets me every time. Now Mulan is not very song heavy. It's got Bring Honor to Us All, I'll Make a Man Out of You, A Girl Worth Fighting For, Reflections. But because it doesn't have like a ton of songs in it, they're all good. And so I'm going to put it an A tier. I really do love I'll Make a Man Out of You. It's one of my favorite Disney songs again. Probably going back to doing like theater in high school, we would play it and everyone would sing it and it would be a good time. And my kids enjoy that one too. But maybe if Eddie Murphy had a song, right? I mean, Eddie Murphy sings, right? He has a singing career. Why not give the guy a song? Probably could have got you up to S tier Mulan, but we'll be happy with A tier for now. Princess and the Frog is going to be landing right above Mulan. It's got a great villain song. I did see in the comments on one of my posts, they don't like the song Friends on the Other Side, but it is easily my favorite. But it is easily my favorite song in this movie. Not to say anything about the rest of them. Almost There, great upbeat, go get 'em, again, character introduction song. I mean, that it's good when you get one of those, right? When you can say like, oh, I understand this character completely just based on this song. Plus, Down in New Orleans just really, again, setting the stage for everything that's going to happen in the world of the movie. Just is, good, upbeat, and a fun one to listen to. An easy listen. Like, this one is one that even if you're like, oh, I don't know if I really remember this song, but you listen to it, you're like, oh, but it's still a good song. That is why it's going to land so high on the list for me. Tangled is an S tier, though. It's got one of the best lines in I've Got a Dream, when Flynn Rider says, surrounded by enormous piles of money. Again, you get to know a lot about his character just from that one line in that song. Having Mandy Moore as your main character also helps out quite a bit, I think. When Will My Life Begin is a great introduction, again, to your character. I understand completely where she's coming from. She doesn't feel like she has a life, and she's not wrong. And then it goes again with having a good villain song with Mother Knows Best. And then for personal reasons, I See the Light is just always gonna make me happy. It was used at my brother's wedding, and so it always brings a smile to my face. So I got no problem putting Tangled up there in S tier. Now this is the big struggle for me. I know Frozen is an S tier for me. Trust me, I've listened to it a lot because that was the first movie we took my daughter to in theaters. She was in love with it, and so we listened to it over and over again. And I still like the songs from this movie. So it isn't just songs that I grew up with, right? Frozen, I think it's better than Tangled. I was up in the air about this one. Let It Go, sure, it's been overplayed and everything, but just that song was like, it took over the world, right? Like, I remember when it came out and it was just everywhere. And it's a good song. Like, it's such a good song that it made them like rewrite the movie. Like, Elsa was gonna be the bad guy. They wrote the song and they're like, oh, this isn't a bad guy song. This should be like the song of her like figuring out like what's going on with her emotionally. And they're like, okay, let's just rewrite the whole movie because of how good this song is. I know Olaf's not for everybody, but In Summer is a great like fun little sidekick song. Same with the little ditty of Reindeer Are Better Than People. Just a lot of fun in those ones, as well as in Fixer Upper. And then you got Love Is an Open Door, which like your first go through, you're like, oh, what a great little romantic song. But then later it's like, man, this song is messed up. But man, it sure is fun to sing. And that's a fun one for me to still do, singing with my wife in the car, even though I'm secretly being the bad guy. And the fact that Do You Want to Be a Snowman can be both like that heartbreaking version at the beginning where it's like this little girl like not being able to play with her sister anymore, but then used at the end in a different way. And every time you get that like upbeat version of it that plays at the very end of the movie, I get emotional. And so it's for those reasons I'm gonna put Frozen right there in S tier. Moana for me is an A tier. I'm gonna put it above Lion King, just because I want to. Let me know how wrong I am. I'm sure that some of you are furious. Again, it's just got songs in it that when I listen to them, even outside of the movie, I get emotional. I Am Moana, right? Not one that I necessarily like to sing that much, because I do like to sing in the car, because who doesn't? But when I just listen to it, I get emotional. And I think that having daughters might make that happen for me. It's like, oh, she knows who she is now, and now she's so ready to just go and be herself, and so, stupid stuff like that is what makes me cry. And it's got two super funny songs. The one thing that Moana, even just as a movie, doesn't really have is a villain, but it does get a great villain song with Shiny. And then The Rock gets to kind of sing a song, right, with You're Welcome. And it's nice to be able to have a song where it's not somebody who's like super classically well-trained singer singing it, so you can feel like you're singing along and be like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm keeping up with him. Like he's better than me, but maybe if I had time to practice and people who would help me, then I could do it. Plus, again, that ending song with We Know the Way, it just gets me like right here in my heart. It's like, yeah, man, they're going and Moana did it. And it's just it feels good. And it's not something that I only feel when I'm watching the movie. When I'm just listening to the soundtrack, it's there for me. Now, Frozen 2's soundtrack is not nearly as good as Frozen 1's soundtrack. Oh, maybe I do want to get it up to B, though. I don't want it in A or S. But it does have some songs that I really do like. Some Things Never Change. Again, it's one of those songs that even when I'm just in the car listening to it with my kids, especially if my kids are in the car too, and we're singing it, and they're talking about how, like, you know, things never change, but you know, in the movie, it's all going to be about how things are changing, and some things stay the same, but a lot of stuff changes, but we still have each other, and it's like, oh gosh, like even literally today, this song came on my playlist, and we were listening to it, and I'm driving the kids to the dentist, and I'm like, today it's the dentist, tomorrow it's gonna be college, and oh, some things stay the same. And it was like that. And unfortunately, my kids are starting to catch on when I'm crying, and they're relentless. Like, my daughter will be like, hey Dad, why are you acting like that? And she's only 8, so imagine how bad it's gonna be later on. All of that being said, I don't want to knock Hunchback down, but I'll knock Dumbo down. Guys, Dumbo's got a couple songs I really like in it, but I don't mind knocking it down to be able to put Frozen 2 here in B tier. And that is gonna do it. So look at that. Does this tier list fill you with anger? If it does, please let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video or would like to watch other videos like it, or even just want to do a random act of kindness for somebody today, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like this one, and you know, really on here on this video, leave a comment. Again, these are all things that help more people see the video. I appreciate you watching. Thank you. We'll be back next week with another video. You're the best. Take care. See you next week.